Your divorce was 3 years ago, maybe 5, maybe 10, and you're still stuck. Still angry, still replaying it, still telling the same story to anyone who will listen. Everyone around you has moved on. Your ex has moved on, your friends are tired of hearing about it, and your kids are growing up watching you stay bitter. And you're still right where you were. Here's the question that no one's asking you. How many more years are you willing to give this? Because here's what I've learned after talking to dozens of men after divorce. Some rebuild in a year. Some are still stuck after a decade. The difference isn't time. It's not circumstances. And it's not how bad their divorce was. The difference is what you do with it. I'm going to break down 4 traps that keeps men stuck for years, the actual cost of staying in them, and how to finally break free, even if you have already lost a decade over it. I was lucky. When my marriage fell apart, I moved fast. I got into therapy. I was searching for answers. I was doing the work. Not because I'm special, because I was desperate to save the relationship. It didn't save the relationship, but it saved me. Within months, I had insights that some men don't reach for years. I processed the grief. I took ownership. I started building something new. But I've talked to men who weren't that fortunate. Men who are 5 years out and still telling the same story. 10 years out and carrying the same bitterness. Men who've watched their kids grown up while they stayed frozen in the past. And here's what I've noticed. It's not that they can't move forward. It's that something is keeping them stuck. There's 4 things specifically. And trap 1, they never actually processed it. They pushed through it. They numbed out. They kept busy. They threw themselves into work or dating or anything that would distract the pain. But they never sat with it. They never let themselves grieve what they lost. They never faced the anger, the fear, the shame. They never did the work that actually heals. They thought that they were being strong. They were just delaying. Unprocessed pain doesn't disappear. It waits. It festers. It leaks out in ways you don't even recognize. In your mood, in your health, in your relationships, in your capacity to be present. You can outrun pain for a while, but it's patient, and eventually it catches up. The men who stay stuck, most of them skip this step. They went straight from divorce to moving on without ever stopping to process what happened. That's not moving on. That's running, and you can't outrun yourself. Trap 2, the victim story became their identity. In the beginning, the story makes sense. You were wronged, things happened that weren't fair, and that story helps you survive that initial shock. But at some point, the story stops being something that happened to you and it becomes who you are. You become the guy whose wife did X, the guy who got screwed in divorce, the guy that was betrayed. And here's the trap. Part of you doesn't want to let it go. Because if you let go of the story of who you are, if you're not the victim, what's your identity? If you heal the wound, what do you have left? I've watched men cling to their victim story for years, not because it serves them. It doesn't. But because they don't know who they are without it. The wound became their identity, and they're terrified of what's on the other side of healing. But here's the truth. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to do about it. As long as the story owns you, you can't build anything new. You're just living in the wreckage, rearranging the debris and calling it life. Trap 3, they never forgave. Her, themselves, or the situation. Let me be direct. Forgiveness is not about letting anyone off the hook. It's not saying what happened was okay. It's not excusing anything. Forgiveness is releasing the chain. When you hold on to unforgiveness, you think you're punishing her. You're not. She's not even thinking about you. She's moved on. She's living her life. The only person you're punishing is yourself. That resentment you're carrying, it's not hurting her. It's poisoning you. It's eating your energy. It's keeping you anchored in the past. It's making you bitter, closed, and unavailable. I've talked to men who hold good face around their kids. They say the right things. They don't badmouth their ex openly. But underneath, the resentment is still there, quietly corroding everything. And it shows up in ways they don't even recognize, in their inability to trust, in their walls with new partners, and the bitterness that seeps into every conversation. Forgiveness isn't a gift to her, it's freedom to you. And yes, you need to forgive yourself too, for your part in it, for the patterns you brought, for the years you've already lost staying stuck. Forgive her, forgive yourself, forgive the situation. Not because any of it's okay, but because carrying it cost you your future. Trap number 4, they never build anything new. Some men rebuild after divorce, but they rebuild out of spite. They get into shape to show her what she's missing. They make money to prove something. They date to fill the void. That's not healing. That's weaponizing the wound. And it doesn't last because spite is a terrible foundation. Eventually the anger fades and there's nothing underneath. The men who stay stuck for years, most of them never build anything real. No new identity beyond the divorce guy. No new purpose beyond proving something to someone who isn't watching. No new life, just the old one with the wreckage cleared away. You can't just stop being stuck. You have to build something in its place. A new version for who you are. New relationships with depth. New purpose that has nothing to do with what happened. And a life that's yours, not a reaction to what you've lost. That's work that most men skip. And that's why they stay stuck. Here's the mechanism. This is why it matters. If you never process the pain, it stays in your system. You carry it into everything you do. You never release the victim identity. You can't build a new one. You are defined by the past. If you never forgive, you stay chained to her, the situation, the resentment. If you never build something new, you're just existing in the wreckage. And here's the cost, the real cost. You repeat the patterns. The same wounds from your childhood that showed up in your marriage, they're still there, unexamined and unhealed. You walk into the next relationship carrying all of it. The walls, the triggers, the patterns you never looked at. And you get the same result. I've watched men do this. 2 divorces, 3, still blaming external circumstances, still refusing to look inward, still wondering why it keeps happening. That's the cost of staying stuck. Not just lost for years, lost lessons. The same patterns on repeat until you finally do the work. So how do you break free after years of being stuck? Step 1, you admit you're stuck. You say it out loud. I'm stuck. What I've been doing isn't working. That's not weakness. That's the first honest thing you've said in years. You've been telling yourself you're fine. You're managing. You're over it. You're not. And you're pretending you are is what's keeping you frozen. Step 2, get help. That could be a therapist, a coach, a men's group, something. You've had years to figure this out on your own. It didn't work. That's not a morale failure. That's data. Some problems required outside perspective. Someone who can see the patterns you can't see. Someone who can ask the questions you're not asking yourself. I did therapy. It saved me years, maybe a decade, maybe my life. Stop treating it as a weakness. Start treating it as a strategy. Step 3, do the work you've been avoiding. The grief you never processed, process it. The ownership you never took, take it. The forgiveness you've been withholding, release it. The childhood wounds that keep showing up, examine them. That's the work. It's not fun, it's not fast, but it is the only path through. Everything else is just rearranging deck chairs. Step 4, build something new. Not out of spite, not to prove something to her, for you. Who do you want to be in 5 years? Not in relation to the divorce, but beyond it. What would your life look like if the divorce was just a chapter and not the whole book? Start building that, one piece at a time. New identity, new purpose, new relationships built on something real, a future that's actually yours. Here's who you become when you finally break free. You stop being defined by what happened and you start being defined by what you did about it. You stop repeating the patterns and start breaking them. You stop living in the wreckage and start building something new. A man who's lost time? Yes, but not another day. A man who finally chose himself. That's the rebuild man. Not someone who never struggled, someone who refused to stay down forever. Let me ask you something. How many years have you already given to this? 3? 5? 10? How many more are you willing to give? Because every year you stay stuck is a year you're not healing, not growing, not building, not available for the relationship you say you want. If your goal is a healthy relationship with someone new or even with yourself, you're going to need to heal this wound. You're going to need to examine the patterns from your childhood that showed up in your marriage and will continue to show up again. The work doesn't just go away because you ignore it. It waits, and it costs you. You've already lost enough years. The next chapter is waiting, but it won't start until you do. Here's what I want you to do. Be honest with yourself for 60 seconds. Which trap are you in? Unprocessed pain, victim identity, unforgiveness, nothing new built. Write it down. Name it. Then ask yourself, what's one thing I could do this week to start getting out? Put your answer in the comments too. I read every single one. And if you're ready to take the next step, I put my video on ownership here at the end. It's the shift that separates men who stay stuck from those who rebuild. I'm Benjamin Kingston and I have nothing to sell you. Almost 7 years ago, my marriage ended and I lost myself completely. I spent every day since rebuilding, and now I help other men do the same. You're not alone in this. The journey never ends, and neither do you.